Do you have what it takes?
Hi guys, and happy Wednesday. You are watching your favorite show of the week, The Hot Seat with Priscilla. My name is Priscilla Moy, and we are here live in real time at the Social Media Show's studio. Every Wednesday, we bring you something new and something different, a story that might inspire you or those around you to continue to do what you want to do in your life and why you do it. We are located in the beautiful city of Las Vegas, Nevada, the home of entertainment, trying to bring to you quality entertainment every second that we can. Las Vegas is building up. They're enhancing, and we want to enhance just as well. And with that being said, today will be a huge enhancement from what I feel I've been doing in my almost 2 years now as a host here at Social Media Shows. If you're into politics, if you have been a resident of Nevada for a very long time, you know that there are a lot of different things within the legislature that can be talked about. And today we are going to have one of those people who are going to be here talking about what he stands for and why he's running for public office. So when you come back, get ready for a very, very, very juicy episode where we're going to get down to the nitty and gritty. Obviously, very, very respectful, of course, because we are not a political debate team here, but we are going to get down to why you should be voting for this person and what he really stands for and how he can make change in the gorgeous city of Nevada. So grab your drinks, grab your lunch, grab your snacks, and when we come back, we're going to jump right into the episode, and I'm going to say who it is. See you then.
Traditional TV is going away. Hollywood is starting to fade. People are demanding real stories from real people. Our voices are now being heard in our own way. Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok Live are becoming the norm. Internet TV has now reached the highest demand in human history. Social media shows is now the new media of the century.
Are you looking to record or film your podcast? We have the sound room and all necessary equipment you need. Contact us for pricing and to schedule your tour.
Hi guys, and welcome back to The Hot Seat. I am your host Priscilla Moy, and we are here live in real time at the Social Media Show's studio. As spoken before in the opening monologue, we are going to have a different type of guest today, and I'm very, very, very excited and a little bit nervous, so I'm not sure which one of us is going to feel like they're in the hot seat, but I'm really excited to introduce this next guest. He is a public speaker. He is actually running for public office at the Nevada Assembly District number 43. His name is Brandon Davis. So everyone, please welcome here to the hot seat. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for spending your time and coming over here and giving us this little interview.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a great day. Thank you for being here. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. And for clarity, it's District 34. Just wanted to make that clear.
Maybe that was maybe it's my nerves, maybe it's, See, I already am messing up. I've never had this happen before.
No,
I'm starting to sweat. I think I'm more in the hot seat than you're in the hot seat, and it's my first politician.
No.
Anyway, so 34. So I'm going to get right into it. So I did a lot of research behind you, and you are from Illinois, along with me, so we have that in common.
Oh, that's awesome.
Midwesterner.
Cool.
And you did study communications in college, and that is currently what you're doing alongside running for public office. You're working, you have a couple businesses going on, you're an entrepreneur, you're in marketing. And so the biggest thing I think about you, and I think this is what I really want to focus on, is that you're very focused on education, right? As a father, as living in Nevada. And I think the first question I want to really get into is, the biggest thing about Nevada when they hear Nevada and Vegas is that the education system is extremely poor, right? And so being from Chicago, you see the list of countries in states in the United States and the levels in education. And you don't really realize until you move somewhere and you experience what they mean by that. Numbers can be one thing, but experiencing them is another. And after moving here, something I really did notice that is very believable for me, that education is so low in the scale. And so do you believe that is a legislative thing, or do you believe that might be a social thing? And what are you trying to do in terms of contributing to that issue that we're having?
Yeah, you nailed it. When we're out talking to folks and knocking on doors, the number two thing that they always talk about is education. Right? That's the biggest hot topic. So, to answer your question, that's a very loaded question. First and foremost, I think there is a very deep social aspect to it, and that is maybe a topic for another day. But I think there's a lot that we can do on the legislative side, and why I think I can have a big impact in state legislature and making it better. I think when you've got 76% of polled Nevada residents that are in favor of like school choice options, so allowing their child to go wherever they would like outside of their zip code, and we don't have that. I think the teachers unions has a big issue on that, but I think implementing more choice options for parents is going to make the situation better. It's going to allow for more diverse options in the educational space, and when you have more options, you have more competition. When you have more competition, outcomes increase. So that's a big thing. I think we need to really have a conversation on the larger school districts as well. That's a big thing, and I was just speaking with a chamber organization today about that. We look at other states like Utah, we look at Colorado, we look at Arizona, some of these states that have hundreds of school districts across their state with these little smaller, mini school boards that can allow for more accountability, to have more of a focus on, how money is being spent when it's brought down from the state. And so right now we've got 17 school districts in this state, excuse me. And I personally believe that Washoe and Clark are just too big. There's too much egregious spending, wasteful spending. I think there's no accountability at the top. There's no leadership at the top. And so I think if you can break those down to smaller districts, that's going to make things a lot better as well. So those are just a couple of options off the top of my head real quick that, I'll be a champion for in Carson City.
Mm-hmm. And that's great. I think a lot of people, like you said, you have been knocking on doors, the biggest thing. And I think I had seen an interview where you say the biggest thing people talk about in regards to education is more so safety, and there is kind of like that balance between what can people in public office do in regards to that versus people in the actual schools and how they're going to navigate running the schools and things like that. And is there anything that you can tell people that can kind of ease their nerves and where we're headed in those directions that you might be able to contribute if you do get a seat?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. When it comes to safety in schools, pardon me, should have grabbed water. Oh, thank you very much. When it comes to safety in schools, we've seen, legislative policies come in recent legislative sessions, restorative justice type of things that have been, pretty much failures. We've shown statistically that schools have started to roll that back. The good news is that we've got a Republican governor who, safety is a huge priority for him as being an ex-sheriff and in law enforcement. And so making sure that schools are safe is definitely a priority of our governor. It's a priority of a lot of our legislators that are currently in Carson City. And I know a lot of candidates that are fired up about it right now, including myself. Once we get there, that we will be, looking at policy, looking at ways to scale back some of the restorative policies that have been implemented in recent past, as well as finding ways to provide more resources to our schools and our teachers as well, to make sure that everybody's safe, because at the end of the day, that's incredibly important that our students and our teachers feel safe in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to make this an interesting point to the audience if they don't know who you are, but this is your second time running for public office.
Yes.
Correct? But this is your first time running as a Republican, right? And I know that you've been asked several times, and it'll always be a topic of debate as to why that is, because the first time you were running as a Libertarian, and that do you feel that you're choosing Republican in a way that can grant you that seat? Because I think you are the only Republican candidate that is running for the seat that you're running for it. Is that correct?
I do have a primary opponent, yes.
Okay. So I know a lot of arguments are people who are very pro one side would probably kind of ask you that question is, are you choosing this because you believe that that could be a definite seat for you, or are you doing it because you feel deep down that that's what you believe in policy-wise?
Yeah, great question. So I announced my campaign in August of last year, and that was prior to it becoming an open seat, prior to even knowing what the Democrat at that time, the incumbent Shannon Bilber Axelrod, was going to do. We were just passionate about it. As far as the reasoning or switching parties, I've personally experienced, whether it's, the border, whether it's, going to Portland, Oregon and walking the streets and talking with stakeholders in that community, some of the more libertarian, social issues that, maybe I once held in years past. I've kind of I've gotten deeper in my fatherhood, and I've gotten deeper in as a business owner, and deeper into, really digging into just our society in general. That some of these policies and philosophies aren't necessarily where I kind of land. So it's been a shift for me just on a personal side. So I feel, more at home in the Republican Party than I do in the Libertarian Party. So that's kind of number one. But I mean, I'm the elephant in the room. I'm not going to say that, there's a better chance of having success, with the Republican Party versus the other one. I experienced a wild amount of, partisanship, I guess, in the last election, as a minor party candidate. The ability to, work with polling companies, to work with data companies, to get endorsements, to get any political action committee, endorsements, to get any funding, anything, was completely just not even an option, right? We were untouchable to most people in the state. So, and even with that, we still got the third highest vote total ever in the history of the state of Nevada. So, for a non-Democrat, non-Republican in a governor's race. So, really, really proud of the hard work that we put in, doing it grassroots. And so that's all great. But again, I definitely, as I've gotten older and I've gotten further into just my own personal philosophies, find myself more at home with the Republican Party.
And so we're going to touch a little bit on your personal life, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It's interesting to hear. So you're from Northern Illinois, right? And you pretty much have businesses, you went to college, did the whole thing, but a big thing that you did mention one time was you were raised by a single parent. And so you were able to work hard, take accountability for how you've built your life. Now, a lot of people, in my experience in meeting a lot of people, they would view that it's really interesting that depending on the party that you're running for, how you're coming from a place that some people would who also are from say, oh my gosh, well, we're underprivileged in certain ways, maybe in regards to the home life, in regards to what opportunities were given to me at that time, and that you're now running for a party where I believe a lot of people in the United States might view that as, coming from a place and how you were raised, right? How do you believe your prior, life in Illinois affected how you are trying to run for public office in Nevada?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Yeah, I mean, listen, my hometown where I was born and raised is, pretty gritty, blue collar factory workers. That's my family all worked in factories, CNC machine operators. And, so like that gritty, that hard work, not really having much. I mean, there was a time I remember being, at 6 years old where my mom and I were homeless. We got burned out of our apartment, and, we were, fortunate to have, Salvation Army and Goodwill and all these community organizations at that time be able to get us back on our feet. And of course, we had help from, the government to be able to do different things. And, so we've been in that space and seen that world, but also then I saw, my mom, work her way out of that and go back to school and do all the things and really kind of put that hard work in to get out of that situation. So while I've been in, the lower socioeconomic, side of things, I've also seen the ability to come out of that through hard work and determination, and not allowing to, be in a victim mentality, I think. And that's a big thing that we see in our society, is that people can't get out of that scenario because they get stuck in that victim mentality. And I think that there's a lot of actors in our society and in our world that glorify that kind of victim mentality. So it perpetuates that mentality. But yeah, I think everything that I've ever done, has been built and crafted by that hard work and that determination of being young. And but again, it allows me to be able to have a perspective on both sides when I'm talking to multimillionaires, donors, or I'm asking to talking to this person or that person. I can go across the spectrum and really communicate and have empathy with any individual based on where they're at, because I've literally been on every side of the spectrum.
Yeah. And so what was a turning point for you? So you've built a career in communication, you've built a career in marketing, you have your own businesses as an entrepreneur. What was a turning point where you sat there and you said, no, I want to run for public office? I know your family has somewhat to do with that, having children and seeing, what you could do and possibly affect their future. But what really was that moment where you're like, no, I'm going to run, and this is why?
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I was sitting at the kitchen counter with my wife. It was in 2020, and the emergency declaration had just been signed by the governor. I was being told that the businesses around me, including my own, were getting shut down. Mm-hmm. I was being told that my kids were locked out of their schools, and I was seeing that with my neighbors as well. And so for me, that was it. I remember looking at her and said, somebody has to stand up for this, and so that was, for me, my personal moment of saying, okay, I need to get involved. I need to get out in the community. I need to, figure out, and learn more about our state legislature. I need to understand how it was possible that one man's signature on an emergency declaration that is supposed to be temporary was allowed to be pulled out for so long, was allowed for a state legislative body to shut the doors and not let the media, not let the general public in during a legislative session. How all of this was absolutely possible. And I think that it was eye-opening, and it was scary, right? Because the government is supposed to work for the people, mm-hmm. right? And so when the people don't have access, or again, kids not being able to attend school, and we've seen how detrimental that has been across the board. Suicide rates have increased. I mean, a lot that we could talk about, but that was it for me. Knowing that I could no longer not do something, and so that was it. That's when I decided that I wanted to be involved in the way that our state was moving.
Mm-hmm. Now, for you actively doing your campaign, I think the biggest thing, being a citizen and watching this from afar, because I'm not in politics at all, is you're great public speakers. You're great at campaigning and pushing your policies, and I think there's a lot of trust issues, I think, with a lot of the citizens of the United States, and hearing one thing and then someone being able to win that spot wherever they're trying to run for, and then not being able to see those changes. How would you tell the people of Nevada that they can trust in you and know that you actively are working for them instead of just being a government, person?
Yeah. I think there's two different ways. One is through actions, right? I think actions speak louder than words. And for somebody like myself that I volunteer in our community, right? So I give hours of my weeks and months every month to Assistance League of Las Vegas, which is a wonderful nonprofit charity. It's actually the only 100% nonprofit, 100% like non-paid, volunteer-led organization in Southern Nevada, which I'm pretty proud of. So, that's big. Again, I coach youth sports. I coach stuff at my kids' schools. So just being involved in the community and like showing through actions that you care about that district and that community, I think is number one. Number two, one thing that I've seen some other people that are in elected office, I think Victoria Seaman is one of them, but there's several others that, they're sending out email newsletters, on the reg. They're updating the constituents, they're letting people know what's going on, where the events are, if there's, some sort of, community gathering in a park, just making sure that people are aware of what's going on and being in constant communication, I think would be another big thing that I would do as well. I hear all the time from people as I'm knocking doors and talking to people in the community that, hey, I've called this legislator, I've sent an email, and I've never gotten a response back.
Yeah.
I think that's appalling, right? That's unacceptable. Again, the government works for the people, and so, when when you're not able to communicate or get responses back, I think that's wrong. So I think that's how you build trust, is by being seen more, by living through action, and then also just by communicating and making sure that the people in the district are involved as much as possible.
Now, there's one thing I really want to ask you, because I'm so interested in what it's like being in your position. Now, dealing with adversity is a lot of a lot in this country when it comes to politics. There's a lot, I think, with how things are happening, socially, economically. A lot of people are very aggressive on both sides, right? Either very pro one side or pro other side, and it becomes kind of like a war instead of kind of understanding why someone's that way or why they believe it should be this way. Now, when you are, debating, you're going through space and you're trying to really get people to believe in what you're doing, how do you handle all of the naysayers and people demanding things from you and kind of feeling that aggression towards you? Because it's not just you being a public person, you have to address those issues, right? And a lot of people with confrontation like that can be very, very, very difficult, and try, instead of narrowing their mind down to the issues that you're trying to address and change and do all of those things, but you get a lot of the aggression from both sides of parties asking you, well, I'm pro this is why are you, right? It becomes, I think, as a United States citizen, I see a lot of things that a lot of people don't talk about it. How do you deal with all of those conflicts and being able to stand on your own and being able to address those very neutral and get people to believe in you no matter what party inside that they're on? If that makes sense.
It's just all about communication and how you approach it, right? I think, coming from a place of, empathy, first and foremost. I mean, if you come into a conversation or, even a debate or anything, understanding, where the other person that you're communicating with might be coming from, the challenges they might be facing, I think you can approach the conversation a bit differently. I personally like to ask questions, whether it's when we're talking to people in our district, volunteers, knocking doors, whatever it is that we're doing, I'm asking questions, right? So, tell me more about that. Why do you, what is it about this particular thing that leads you to think this way? Or why do you feel this way? Tell me more about that, right? So when you're asking and you're pulling, you're engaging, it becomes different than just like a shouting match, right? Which isn't going to solve anything. And I think if you can come to a conversation just not with the intent to change somebody's mind, really just to be honest about how you feel about something and be genuine, I think you can have somebody walk away from that conversation thinking a bit differently. You might not change their mind,
right.
But at least you've planted a seed that possibly at some point, can have some positive net results, right? But I think those are some ways that I just personally look at it. I'm not sure if that's the right way, but
right. And
that's the way that I look at it.
It's a very genuine answer, because I always wonder, like, you try to keep your personal, beliefs and how you want to react to certain things. If you happen to be on camera and someone's telling you something that you highly don't believe in, and that's a whole different level of like self-control and like camera for that. Like I'm always interested in if you prepare for that, or if there's a way that you kind of get out of those situations and try to stay the neutral party while also being firm on what your stance is, right? Because I know you talked a lot about it with other people and not so much yourself, and like, all those things. But what interests me about you is that you go out and you experience people and you talk to people. And do you think that that's lacking in regards to government and people holding public office? Because, when you become in a state of power, even if no matter what it is, law enforcement, judges, even higher parties in government, where it kind of starts to stray away from what the people are saying, and more so on like, oh, this is me, what I believe, but ignoring probably what might be happening right now, right, in society. So what's your take on it? And do you think that people should be out there doing what you're doing in order to learn more? And you think that would have an effect if they really put in more of that one-on-one time with the people in whatever area they're trying to legislate or the bigger in span of the country.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think knowing exactly, and especially, we're fortunate to be an assembly district, right, which is the small, one of the smaller districts in the state, and so we can actually go out and talk to every single voter. So obviously Congress, county commissioner races here in Clark County. I mean, those are, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's really difficult to be able to touch on them. But I think the more that you talk to, the more that you understand what matters most to people. So I absolutely, and the sad part is that I hear stories all the time of candidates in a very safe district not having to go out and do that, right? Maybe the voter registration might be stacked in one direction or the other, and so their need to go knock on doors and their need to go out and kind of really work the community isn't there, and so I think that's very unfortunate. But I think it changes everything once you again get out and you put in the work and you talk to the folks and have those conversations and really learn about what matters to them. It'll change your perspective once you are elected and have a better understanding of how to move forward.
Mm-hmm. So Nevada in general and surrounding, because the district you're running for is what area, so that everyone can understand, like what cities and what area of Nevada?
Yeah, it's in Clark County, so it's Summerlin North,
okay,
if you're familiar with that area. So, Lake Mead to Alta, Charleston area, okay, to Wallapai and Anasazi over to Jones. So okay, it's going to have a little bit of Summerlin North and come a little bit east as well.
So mostly on the west area of Las Vegas.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, very diverse district. You've got, over in by the TPC Summerlin area, you're going to have very, very expensive homes and wealthy individuals and families. And then on the further east, you're going to have, some apartments but it's a wonderful district, a lot of hardworking people. That's one thing that's awesome is we're, going through, Buffalo and Westcliff or, wherever it is. And we're going through these houses. I mean, there's trailers, for landscapers and plumbers and heating and air conditioning. I mean, all these service-based, working folks that I love to see it. Because again, for somebody like myself that is a small business owner, it's like I love to see so many business owners out there working. But it's a really, really fantastic district.
Mm-hmm. So Vegas basically has a stigma, I think, regards to a lot of people who haven't lived here or maybe come to visit on what basically goes on here, right? Especially where they get a lot of the funds from. It's all about, the gambling, the partying, all of this entertainment. You're bringing in big events. You, not originally from here, but you lived here over 10 years?
I've been here 12 years now.
12 years now.
Yeah.
And a lot changes, like, on the daily, right? And they're trying to bring in more and establish themselves as a different type of city with a different type of maybe reputation. Mm-hmm. And do you think that you're seeing that go in the right direction or a really poor direction in regards to how Vegas is taking its higher status?
Yeah, no, I think, we talk a lot about, diversifying the economy, mm-hmm, right? So obviously being so dependent on tourism and gaming, we've seen a big shift in sports. That's been a big thing over the last decade or two, and which is great. I would like to see more diversity in our economy, mm-hmm, for sure. I'd love to see some tech hubs. I mean, I know we've got some smaller ones building, but I'd love to see kind of us expand out of just what we're kind of locked into as of right now. Mm-hmm. It gets a little bit more diverse as you get out into the rurals. Obviously, up in Story County, there's a big, innovation, tech thing happening there. There's the warehousing side of things in North Las Vegas. But yeah, I would love to see more diversity in our economy in Southern Nevada and Clark County for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now you have some hand in the arts, I should say. Like prior in your day, you were in a band, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
You did music, and so you have some experience being an entertainer, right? You can get that far, and you can see kind of on the side of people who perform and do the day-to-day life, either struggling to find gigs and all those things. And a lot of people will view Nevada as like the entertainment capital of the world. But as a performer and an artist myself, it's interesting to see how Vegas is trapped in its idea of how far they can go, mm-hmm, up the levels of entertainment.
Yeah.
right? You know, we talk about live entertainment, we talk about tribute artists, we talk about, you know, all of that, but film and, you know, production companies is new in regards to here, and also with recording artists, because it's all about, you know, you do it up until and then you retire, do something else. Dancers can't keep their bodies for long. And so is there anything that you're standing for in regards to helping the community and the people in the art world and entertainment world in order to raise our standard in regards to bigger cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York? Because right there, in my point of view, we're not at those levels, right? And I'm not sure if it's maybe a funding thing, an opportunity thing, if it's a Vegas thing, or it's a people thing. I would love to hear your point of view as someone who's going to be running for office and in politics, and how you view that and what you think the direction of Vegas is going in and how you might be able to affect artists.
Yeah, no, I think having a unique perspective as somebody who's, you know, been in the music business, you know, through their entire 20s and, you know, did the whole, you know, tour bus and van and rock music and festival circuit and, you know, did that whole thing. And, you know, I've done the cover band, you know, stuff and around all the properties and in years past as well. I mean, definitely have a unique perspective to bring to Carson City, you know, when specific legislation is proposed that affects, you know, artists and creative minds and all of that. I mean, I'm not necessarily sure. I'd be open to the conversation and hearing about, you know, ways that those folks are affected. Are you talking about like pay or like what in what ways?
And there's so many ways. So pay can be one thing, and the way that you treat, I mean, that goes down to a union thing, but also the biggest thing for me is the opportunity, right? And bringing those opportunities in and how that can shape Vegas to be somewhat similar to a big metropolitan city that might have the means to have those opportunities at a higher level. Because right now we have a lot of indie, right? We do a lot of background work. Companies come here, they do a thing, but they don't source Vegas locals or Vegas artists to do those higher things. Okay. And I'm always interested to see why that is. Is it people's experience with people here, or are people here maybe not giving off the work ethic that maybe someone in Los Angeles might do because of the opportunities we get? I would love to see how that might be a talk within maybe someone in public office.
Yeah, I would love to have that conversation and hear about that, and, you know, the stakeholders in that particular community, and in ways that, you know, I can be an advocate for them in Carson City. Again, I'm not sure how that works in regards to just legislation, but, you know, anything that I could do to make things better for those folks is great. You know, I mean, yeah, the union thing is definitely a thing that comes to mind for sure. Right. I mean, but yeah, any way that I can be an advocate to help support those people, I'm open to the conversation.
Yeah, because we here are small business as well as artists.
Yeah.
I believe. So with your experience here, it's always interesting to see how you would view us and how you know, what kind of effect you would have on businesses.
Yeah.
Because we both have that entrepreneurial side. I mean, a lot of artists are entrepreneurs, right? And so you have that small business mindset because we're independents, but then we also are more so leaning towards production. And Vegas, I think, doesn't have that talk in regards to people doing things outside of stages at Horseshoe Casino, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm always interested, if you were ever in a position where that comes up, you know, what you would do for businesses like this, instead of just small office businesses or restaurants or things, but little production companies that might not be Warner Brothers. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. No, I love that. And yeah, as somebody who, again, is in the digital marketing space, like, you know, this type of thing, and being able to understand that small business ownership side of things, yeah, I'm going to be an advocate and find ways to support them. You know, there's lots of different funding that already exists. You know, obviously we'll want to find further ways to provide funding for small businesses, even especially in more innovative, forward-thinking digital spaces like this, you know, podcasts and shows like yours. I think that there's ways that we can support them, and just also continue to keep government out of it. I think that's a big thing. Is like, you know, it's all fine and good until the government starts to come in and start regulating things and taking more of the funds. But I think being a champion to keep government out of the business, a champion to find ways that we can, you know, fund it without taking too much of taxpayer dollars to do it. I mean, there's different ways that we can definitely be an advocate for this industry.
Mm-hmm. And then another topic that I think is big in, I think, the Las Vegas area right now is with all the new traffic coming in. You know, you get a lot of people in from all different areas of life, walks of life, different places in the world, not just within the States. That brings in a different type of cultural vibe that Vegas would have compared to other cities. There's no one definite culture or style or anything that you might feel, especially if you go back to Illinois. It's kind of like a free-for-all thing. But with that, crime rates go up, and that people think, oh no, Vegas safe. And then if you're talking about places like North Summerlin, like there's a lot of safer areas. Now, I have been a victim in Las Vegas and experienced a lot of different things, especially coming from Chicago, that I'd be surprised is happening. And I've lived here maybe 5 years, and I've seen kind of drastic changes. You hear a lot of people saying, oh, Vegas, it's getting bad, it's getting bad. Everyone's like, oh my God, the construction, all this, bringing in all this, blah, blah, blah. And there was one interview where I heard you talking about, judges and how they declare whether or not people who do get caught for doing certain crimes in certain areas do get put back on the streets for second chances, right? And so do you believe that a lot of these decisions are coming from people's own personal empathy and compassion, or do you believe that it's coming from a different, maybe a political point of view, or that they don't actually believe that it's going to have a big impact on society? And how do you think that you can change those things in regards to how the neighborhoods, because you're more of a neighborhood instead of just a street of Vegas, right, where people will move to? So if they want to move here and they want to say, okay, but tell me about how the crime is, and what are people doing about it? Because I'm just seeing like it's repeating, and I don't want to bring my family there, right? Let's say that that's the thing. Yeah. What would you say to that? And what is your views on as to why it's getting as reckless, as some might say, as it is?
Yeah, no, I think, going back to what you talked about the judges, we have a lot of those, and, district attorneys and various other actors that, are letting out bad individuals. We've seen, in recent past, the guy that jumped across the bench to get the judge, right. He had been arrested in multiple times. I mean, I just read another story, a guy that was, out in the public when he's been in jail 12 different times. So I mean, it's we're letting these people back out on the streets, and it's causing a problem, right? I think when the people are not held accountable for their actions, there is just this soft, lackluster take on criminality that you're going to see what we have right now. And so we've got to really look at who we're electing as judges. We have to really look at who we're electing, in our judicial system, period. I will say, some positive things that, I recently sat in a room with Sheriff McMahill, and they have gotten their staff to where it needs to be, or where at least they're comfortable. And so he's been operating for the last couple of years on, a straw man crew for the most part. And so they've worked really hard to get more police officers out into communities, and I think he's done a great job there. So we're hearing some statistics on specific things that are down, percentage wise. So there's a lot of good things that are happening there. But we're still seeing it. It happens even in Summerlin, where I'm at. I mean, criminals are coming into those areas because there is opportunity, right? We've seen vehicle thefts have been, huge lately, especially with the Kias, with the, the locks. That was a whole TikTok thing apparently, but, Las Vegas Metro has done some drive-through stuff in the last couple weekends on, getting people the anti-theft devices and getting that sorted. So there's measures that are being, put in place for sure to, reduce some of that stuff. But we still have a lot of work to do. And I think it's really important that we elect judges and people in our justice system that are going to just hold people accountable. Once I'm in Carson City, I will be an advocate for, increasing penalties on violent crime offenders. I think, where I land on, nonviolent, crimes is a little bit different, but I think, people who commit violent crimes need to be held accountable for their actions and stay there. So that's something I'll be a champion for. But anyways, that's my take. I talk to folks that don't live in the state of Nevada, and as people are coming in, to answer your question, if they have some hesitations, we can definitely assure them that there's a lot of people like myself and our sheriff and our governor and various other people in the state legislature that are working very hard to make sure that our streets are safer.
So do you believe that there's a lot of bias when you do run for public office and you do meet other candidates and you do have some, ever since you got into more politics in a way where you want to run, do you see that there's more towards being biased because of, it's their own people, the way they grew up, what they would want versus what they believe is good for the place that they're in? Because every community is different, right? Every community's got to run different based on the people, like we talked about, style. But me being from Chicago and seeing the differences on how there's a lot of biasness in a certain city based on the populace, but that might not always be the best answer, right? And so do you believe that that is happening a lot in Nevada, where they might just bring their own ideologies and put that on something that might not work? And how do you balance maybe your own personal thoughts on, okay, well, I wouldn't really like that, but that's not right for this community. How do you alter, I guess, is more of a way I should say, to view and just solely look at the place that you're trying to represent and say, is this appropriate for this area versus maybe my own personal, no, yes, this is what I want. Do you see a lot of that going on? Or do you believe that everyone's pretty much very pro-community? If that makes sense.
No, I think, bias is an interesting thing, right? So somebody who's been in communication his whole life, you were in communication as well as that?
No, I'm a theatrical actor, but thank you for the presuming.
You had mentioned it earlier, but, that's a real thing. I think, people have an inherent bias, whether they realize it or not, to a lot of different things, right? And so I think first understanding that is important. But this is a melting pot. We have people from all over. You and I from, Illinois. There's a ton of people from California and Utah and Arizona. All over the U.S. This is one of the fastest growing states. In the last 2 decades, I think, in the United States. So you're going to have people with different perspectives. You're going to have people with different thoughts and values and different ways that they feel that we should approach our future and our education and all the things, right? So, again, for me, having lived in Illinois and California and experiencing that very, kind of progressive left kind of mentality and thought process on, policy and laws and all the things. I've also lived in Oklahoma and, rural communities and other Florida, and, that might be a little bit, more right on the spectrum. And so, I'm just uniquely positioned, having experienced both ends of the spectrum, and then now being in a state that I consider kind of very purple, kind of in the middle. Again, being able to communicate with both sides of the fence, have those conversations, but just always asking questions and listening, right? But I think, understanding your community, like for me, it's like, again, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm asking the questions when we're going out and knocking on neighborhoods or knocking on doors in our neighborhoods. I'm asking them, what is the biggest issue to you? What's facing, your family right now? What are the kitchen table issues that matter the most to you? So for me, it's just like, I'm just learning and I'm asking questions. So that way I can be more effective once, I do get elected and get to Carson City and the state legislatures, that I can actually understand what is affecting the people in my neighborhood.
Yeah, and I just want to apologize. I know my questions are long, but I want to make sure this is a respectful space. I mentioned that before, because sometimes people can get really, offended by a certain question. So I want to make sure that I'm laying it out as effectively as possible. Yeah. Because the next question I want to ask is, so we're very diverse in Las Vegas in general, in Southern Nevada. And you get a lot of people from different skin colors, different minorities, not just economically and socially, but we're also talking about physically, right? You get people from all walks of life, people from other countries. And so what can you tell people of a ethnic minority and you coming from a Caucasian male, that they can have hope that you are also speaking for them?
Yeah, great question. Just again, through actions, it's the biggest thing that I can do as somebody who, regardless of, my background or skin color or anything, dedicates volunteering to time in his community, which again, the place that we do volunteer at, serves, lower socioeconomic families, and so, that typically does tend to be a diverse community for sure. And so, for me, it doesn't matter who it is, where you're from, the skin color, man, woman, whatever, if you need help, I think that's something that I can provide for sure. So I don't think that laws, see skin color. I mean, I think what's right is right.
Right.
If it's good for one person, it's good for another, and vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I would say, is that it's about what's doing right for everybody in the community, and that's it. It doesn't matter, again, what income bracket you have. It doesn't matter what skin color you have. What matters at the end of the day is if it's good policy, if it's good laws, if it follows the Constitution, if it protects individual rights. I mean, for me, that's the number one biggest thing, is where I come from, individual rights. So, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, because I think the biggest thing that would be coming from a minority person and seeing how they react to other people that they might find more privileged to be in places like you are, that they might say, well, you'll never understand what it's like walking the streets as this. Yeah. And that comes into play with opportunity, right? So law is law, we can all hold that, but when it comes to maybe not receiving that same opportunity as another, or being able to be in the position where you can really talk about it. So you're huge on education, and they might be like, well, I just feel that there's prejudice in allowing my child, right, to be there, or I don't feel safe because we look like this. And how would you give those families hope? By saying, well, you are a white man, you won't understand, right? Would be the biggest thing that they would say. You don't know, though. So you might say that this will work, but it doesn't, right? And so when you deal with something really strong as that, because even if it was me, like, I can't, understand what it's like to be every other ethnicity. Yeah. So it'll be hard to answer that question, because it's like, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, I won't understand that. Yeah. Right? So what would you say to those families that maybe they can't have the economic means, but for some reason they just don't fit in, so therefore they're not even treated right, or they're not given the opportunity to have the same opportunities that might elevate their child's education, or vice versa, things like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, again, I'll just go back to my background, being, very poor, lower socioeconomic. There were times in my life that, I was lived in places where I was the only white kid on the street, so I've been in those roles. But the school choice policies that we're fighting for, so education savings accounts, opportunity scholarships, allowing parents to be able to put their kid in whatever school it is that they want based off, not keeping kids locked into a zip code, right? All of those school choice policies are going to help the lower socioeconomic, the minority communities, are going to make our education better for those kids. So I mean, that's the number one thing, that there's several different policies that we're championing that in fact are best for those communities. So I'll never be able to walk in those shoes, right, so to speak, but I can listen, and I can ask questions, and I can advocate and do what I think is best, for sure.
So this last question I always ask all of my guests, and it's interesting because it kind of sums up them as a whole, as a person. Because I think the biggest thing I want people to see you as, in part from, everyone's hearing, okay, well, he's a true politician, right? He's great at talking. He's got great, your confidence. But this question kind of sums down you and what I think people really need to know about you, because they can't really feel, the aura in the room right now. They can watch you on camera and be like, okay, yeah, he said this before, like, he's a very good speaker. But is there a philosophy that you live by? Just in general, does that have to do with politics, like you yourself?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, my family, my kids, is kind of a pseudo Judeo-Christian kind of thing. Treat people right. I mean, that's the number one. Treat people as you would want to be, treated. Be kind, tell the truth. I mean, just the golden rule stuff, right? I mean, I think those are just your broad brushstroke philosophies that are important to me, and important that I pass along to my kids. If you more other philosophies, I'm definitely, kind of a libertarian, kind of philosophy when it comes to more of the political side of things, or just, some things in our society. I think, if we want to go deep into that, but I think those are some guiding principles. Again, treat people as you would want to be treated. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. Just the simple stuff that, again, kind of falls into that space. But those are the ones that I would say for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. So they want to say like maybe one slogan as Brandon Davis, not just Brandon Davis running for office, so that people can kind of see you and kind of get a new sense of why they should vote for you. If you want to, maybe
Sure.
for yourself right now. And this camera.
This one right here.
This one right here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if someone at the end of the day that genuinely cares about the future of the state, that genuinely cares about our neighborhoods and our communities, and making sure that people are able to start businesses and work great jobs, and to not have the government taking out every single dollar out of their pockets, and making sure our education system is one of the best in the U.S. I mean, all of those things that are incredibly important for me. If that's incredibly important to you, then, and if you live in my district, because you can't vote, for me if you're not in the district. But I think, just knowing that there's an advocate and somebody who cares deeply about this state, and has for, the entire time that he's lived here, and making sure our communities are safe. I definitely would love your vote. You can obviously check out the website, which is electbrandondavis.com, and find us on all social media stuff. But I definitely appreciate the time today and the conversation.
Yes,
it's been great.
Thank you so much. I really hope that it was a good conversation for you. I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of these questions you've answered, but I hope that I can kind of make you feel a little comfortable here, and kind of just let you out as a person and show people who you are,
Yeah.
and why you stand for what you stand for.
Yeah.
Everyone can hear, I like this, I like that, but it's always the why,
Yeah.
right? And what you're doing to incorporate into yourself as to what the why is and why the why is.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And so Brandon Davis, everybody, and then you want to tell them your social media so that way they can maybe reach out if they maybe have any questions and things like that, and
Yeah, of course.
find your handle.
Yeah, the website has got a phone number and an email address on it that you can reach me directly at. All the social medias are at the number 1 and then Brandon Davis. Very simple.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I wish you
Thank
the best of luck. I hope that you end up moving to
Yeah.
Carson City and fulfilling your term is 2 years, right? And
Yep.
if you do get the seat, so I wish you the best of luck, and I
Thank
really
you.
hope that you get all the support you need. So
Awesome.
Brandon Davis, everybody.
Thank you.
When we come back, I'm not done talking, so we will see you after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Hot Seat. I'm your host, Priscilla Moy, and this is the first and only time I'll admit to you guys that I actually was nervous for this interview, and why I'm so glad that it is over, because I need to take my jacket off and air my armpits out and fly like a bird. Okay, anyways, but I hope you really enjoyed that episode. I tried to get down to the nitty gritty on who he is, why he is, what he's doing to do what he's doing, especially in the world of politics. Like I brought up a little bit, it is an aggressive topic. It is a topic that can easily offend a lot of people, especially in a world where we do have freedom of speech. So I think there's a lot of things that you have to do in regards to someone in public office to maintain the peace, but also make change. And I don't even want to know what that's like being in his position. That is so not me. I just run my mouth here, and whether you like it or not is whatever. It's not going to affect me. Be my hater, okay? Whatever. I'm not looking for votes. But in that, so he has my full respect in that. So some announcements. I know that Social Media Shows is very actively not only doing our shows, but we are doing events that have red carpets, and we do have hosts for that, etc., etc. And those red carpet events are not just movie premieres like you would think. They could be events for a party. They could be events for a film festival, a music event, an award show, anything where you feel like it deserves a red carpet and people want to be interviewed. They want to be seen on the camera. They also want people to know who they are, just as much as I try to make people understand who people like Brandon Davis are. So if you are having an event and you want to hire people to do a red carpet, please email admin@socialmediashows.com. There are tons of us hosts that would love to do red carpets, but I really hope that you choose me. And we would be able to give your guests and yourself one-on-one interviews and also advertise what your event is. So if it's a movie coming up, it's a festival, it's an award show, we really want to give those people some airtime in order to promote themselves. And then also, if you are wanting to be on any of the shows here at Social Media Shows, hopefully mine, because I hope that I'm your favorite, we are talking on the hot seat, you can also email your bio. And please tell production what show you want to be on, okay? Because there's so many, and if you're not getting down right to the nitty gritty, you're probably not going to get a response as fast as you would like to. So if you want to be on the hot seat, please say, my name is blah blah blah, I want to submit to be on the hot seat, because this is a submission process and a casting, more so than just having a very open door policy, because that's not really much how this is. So don't get us mixed up with that. You do have to go through submission, and please be patient with responses. There are so many emails coming through all the time, and working with people on their schedules, because we all have lives, can be very difficult. The show happens once a week, so we only have room for so many people every week. But if you would like to be on that, send your bio, your headshot, and any other information you would like, so that we can research you, to admin@socialmediashows.com. And please mention that you want to be on the hot seat. And maybe if you want to be extra, maybe heighten your chance of being on the hot seat, you can put why. Why is it? Why do you feel you should be on the hot seat just as much as Brandon Davis is? Or like me today, me in the hot seat. I think we should have flipped Maria. I should have sat here and he could have sat here, and then put a fan so that way I'm not sweating like I just performed a concert. OMG, guys. I try to be not as transparent, but if you really know me, I'm being so transparent right now. I hope you guys enjoy this video, this interview, because this was definitely a challenge for me. I think as a host, you're gonna every week. So if you want to be a host, this is a little tip. You try to learn every episode, and you think you got it, and then you meet people and you don't got it, because they walk up in here with different energies. Like I said, I never had politicians, so his energy is definitely something I'm not used to. Everyone comes in shy, or they come in the opposite, right? Like, who is she? They look at me like, who is that, right? So I know how to deal with that. People that talk too much or don't talk at all. But he is like the perfect, very straightforward medium, and I'm just like, wow, is this what it's like talking to me, Maria? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it like, am I that scary? Because that was scary, or like, whatever. But anyway, that was my rant. If you guys can like me more because I'm showing transparency, like how I try to make them see transparent, like, I hope you just like me. I am human, so please follow us, like us, subscribe, give us a comment. I will tell you guys right now, I cannot believe I'm so dyslexic to the point where I got the district wrong. I just looked at it before I got camera, so I wouldn't do that, and I did that, you guys. That is so embarrassing. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. You sound like a YouTuber, but thank you guys for watching. Please like us. Please follow us and hire us and pay us to suffer. Instead of you having to suffer in front of the camera, I can suffer for you. But please just hire us, email us. Yeah. You know, your girl's stressed, but it's fine, guys. You know, like, we're just here in a hot seat. But anyway, I hope you like that comedic bit, you know. Anyway, but thank you guys so much for watching the hot seat here at Social Media Shows. Please, like, I was honest about that, but please like, comment, share, invite your friends, tell everyone about us. We are a small business, and we're trying to get this production value higher for everybody and for ourselves, but also so we can get more exposure in order to introduce more people to you guys. So please continue to support us. We see all of your support, and we thank you so much for that. So like I said, I'm Priscilla Moy, and I will see you next week here on the hot seat.